What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes show. We're recording this Tuesday. We've been doing Wednesdays in the offseason, but we're doing Tuesday because Scott's going to the Super Bowl. I don't know. Are you going to the game or just yeah?
Not going to the game. Going to be there for the week though. Got some fun things lined up. Doing a live show. So
I don't think anyone
really
knows
talked about
what
this.
you're doing now.
So I work with a podcast, Greenlight. We're building a media company over there. Chris Long's the host of it. His brother Kyle Long, Macon Gunter, Bo Allen, Nate Collins. These guys are they're a lot of fun. This is why my family why we moved, and yeah, going out to Arizona, doing a live show on Thursday, and just a whole bunch of events. Going to do some fun media day stuff on Wednesday, I think, and. Yeah, maybe I might or might not be going to a Drake party on Friday night.
It's so funny to me that you're just finding yourselves in these situations because of Chris and Kyle. You fit. It's not like you don't fit into these, but at the same time, like, you're gonna be at
I fit perfectly into a Drake party. What are you talking about?
You're like
I had to go to TJ Maxx to get some fresh threads.
You're a mid-40s-year-old man going to a Drake party with a bunch of former NFL players. Like, I don't know.
I was like, you know what? J. Crew and like Banana Republic probably not going to cut it for this. It's like
you're a Maxinista.
Standard middle-aged white dude apparel. Yeah, so I need to go see what go to a department store. You don't want to just
shop at Kohl's, get the jumbo dress shirts for like buy one get seven free.
Yeah, I mean, there's no Kohl's around here, but that might have happened if it was available.
Are the Long boys going to the game? Or like no one's going to the game. Everyone from Blue Wire too that's going this week. They're just going for the media week, and then they're heading out like Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, same story here. It's the media week is really where a lot of the action happens, and then the game. It's a lot of suits, a lot of suits going to that thing. So no, we're dipping out on Saturday, and we'll watch the game like everybody else. It's actually a better viewing experience. I can only imagine like being at the Super Bowl and then halftime happens and then you can't see a damn thing for like a quarter probably because of all the smoke and pyrotechnic, all that stuff. And Rihanna's going to come out with a show.
You've never been to a Super Bowl, right? Never been to No,
I've never been to a Super Bowl. It's actually not even. It's not
on my bucket list.
Like a bucket list thing at all.
I mean, World Series game, like, sign me up. Like, I've loved all the Yankees playoff games. I think baseball playoff games in person are an amazing atmosphere. I've been to football playoff games, and it's a really fun atmosphere. But it's also, like, still, you're watching a football game in person, and unless you have 40 or 50-yard line seats in the lower bowl, you can't see shit. And it's like, I remember I went to a Ravens-Patriots AFC Championship game many years ago. The Ravens ended up winning. I was sitting in like corner upper deck. It was 0 degrees. It was the most miserable 3.5 hours of my life.
People talk shit about baseball being a slow game, but when you go to a football game in person, I actually don't like it at all, because to me, the TV timeouts in between the small amounts of action really affects the viewing experience, and it becomes a slow game in my opinion. Like when you're watching, and you're right, unless you have really good seats, it's hard to see what's happening. And yeah, there's just so much. I think there's actually more downtime in football because of the TV timeouts, like longer periods of downtime. Whereas in baseball, at least a pitch is being thrown. Like there is something happening for the most part. Maybe it's not the most action in the world because you're not getting a ball in play, but it's still, I don't know, man. It's like, I'm so used to watching football, I think, on TV, and I'm used to watching baseball in person. So it's probably an expectation thing.
I remember hearing something that there's only like between 12 and 15 minutes of actual action in a football game. And then the rest is the play is over and walking back to the line. And then on the TV experience, you're watching the replay and they're breaking down the play that just happened 2 or 3 times. You're watching a replay, so you don't notice that. But when you're in person, you're absolutely right. Baseball might not be the best sport to compare it to, though, because I feel like there's a lot of downtime in baseball. Like in baseball, when do you consider the play to be over? Like if there's a runner on base, the play is really kind of never over because something could always happen.
I mean, the play is over.
A pitch is thrown. There's a runner on first base. The pitch is thrown. Yeah. It's a strike. The guy throws the ball back to the pitcher. I guess that's when the play is over. But like then there's 15, 20 seconds of the pitcher picking his ass before he throws another pitch. But like,
Yeah. There's definitely downtime in
Oh,
baseball.
yeah,
I'm not saying there isn't. I think the more I was talking about it, the more I'm thinking of it's just I'm so used to watching baseball games in person, and I'm way more used to watching football on television. And I just think it's a better viewing experience. Whereas I think baseball in person, and maybe because it is a very social thing as well. It's I don't know. It just feels different. I love baseball in person. I don't like football in person.
What
I like the atmosphere, but
I
the
know
game
we've
itself.
talked about
give
this
me TV.
before, but what is your ideal seat at a baseball game? Like where? Where on the field?
So I like being on the down the line, like first baseline. A lot of people like being behind the plate. I do not like being behind the plate. I lose the depth perception.
Down the
I don't know,
line,
for whatever
like
reason, it
down the
bothers me.
line near over the dugout.
And then obviously section 205 is a
205 Memorial Day weekend versus the Padres. Scott and I will get on the same page as to what exactly is happening, and there will be tickets for that, and we will be communicating that very soon. Trust me.
Yeah. Sure. The hard part is done.
Past
Tickets
the
are
dugout
ordered.
or over the, because I feel like over the dugout is probably prime. And at Yankee Stadium, Stadium, the lower section behind the dugout is great, but even the middle section at Yankee Stadium, or even the upper deck front section of the upper deck, if you're in the infield, it's a fantastic seat.
At Yankee Stadium, so obviously if you're down close, it just feels different. You can hear the game play a lot more, and I like that too. I like being there because you can see different things. But as far as like vantage point, like the Delta seats in that 200 level are awesome. That's a really good seat.
Who you got for the game, Super Bowl? Who you picking? You betting?
I'm going to Eagles. I've
they haven't played a quarterback in 18 weeks. You see that?
They're just a better team all around. I think so. I think that they're healthier. They should be able to. Spagnuolo dials up a whole bunch of blitzes. Everybody who's a Giants fan knows that he's one of those big game guys who can dial up some different looks, and that might happen. But I just think the Eagles are too talented right now.
Yeah, it's Mahomes' health is the question, right? It's like if Mahomes is fully healthy, I feel like it's a coin flip. But if not, then yeah, I agree with you. The Eagles.
I mean, he still looked good. He's defying the odds with a this high ankle sprain that he has. So he's moving around with not too much issue. So we'll see. But yeah, I think if I were to put some money on the game, which I have,
if I were to put some money on the game, which I did. All right, let's talk about another guy who's dealt with some injuries in the past. Luis Severino will not be pitching in the World Baseball Classic, even though he wants to pitch for the Dominican Republic. The Yankees do not want him pitching in the event. Totally understand that. The guy has not had a healthy season since 2018. So yeah, do not pull a Mark Teixeira and injure yourself in a meaningless tournament.
So is it 100% confirmed? I saw that they don't want him to, and that they're thinking about saying can't do it. But
I think it's like
totally,
we don't want you to. So then he's like, okay, I won't. And then if he pushes it, they're gonna have to put their foot down and be like, no, you can't do it.
Right. Look, we're trying to allow you to make your own, make the right choice. Okay, just make the right choice, like a child. I mean, yeah, I get it. I like the World Baseball Classic is a lot of fun. I like it, but at the same time, Luis Severino needs to be healthy for this season for the New York Yankees. Bottom line.
I mean, there are 100%. Yankees playing in it.
Him throwing in that tournament could certainly question. Could throw a wrench into anything. He needs a regular routine. He needs a regular spring training. He's built up the correct way and get into the season.
So what's the full list of Yankees playing? I know Nestor Cortez is pitching. Judge is playing, right? No, Judge is not playing.
Judge is not playing.
No Judge.
What did I say?
Nestor's pitching.
Was Judge contemplating? Why was I confused on that?
We talked about it. Stanton played in the past.
We just talk about Judge a lot. So
Higgy,
yeah.
Gleyber, who's playing for Venezuela. Wandy, who Wandy could throw 150 innings. I mean,
yeah, Wandy's fine, right? He's gonna rubber arm.
That guy's insane.
None of those guys playing bothers me. Like, I'm not worried about Nestor Cortez pitching in it. Like, I feel like he's another guy that will be fine, even though he did injure himself at the very end of the season last year. I don't know. Maybe even Gleyber, I'm happy he's playing. I feel like getting some better competition for Gleyber is a good thing versus just like going through the motions in spring training for him. So not upset about any of those guys.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. Position players, I'm fine with. I don't think it really matters for position players, to be honest. It's more.
I use the
more
Mark
of the
Teixeira
pitching.
example because he injured his wrist in the World Baseball Classic in 2013, I think that was, and he missed pretty much the entire season. But yeah, you're right.
The sheath, the wrist sheath injury.
Good callback. A position player should benefit them because they're getting better. They're seeing better pitching earlier, so it should like accelerate their timing and all of that stuff in theory.
Sure. I mean, good competition early days. I think it's the there's obviously a different energy level when you go to these games than you do in spring training. So it's ramping you up for real competition. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The only guys that I have any concern about are pitching, but the ones that we mentioned, you're right with Nestor. I think he can manage himself well, and the injury history is just not there. Knock on wood. Wandy, I'm fine with. Severino's the guy. You don't want pitching.
I don't want Severino anywhere near that.
Yeah, just like you go cheer on your team, but do some work.
Because
on
I
the
know
side.
exactly what will happen with Luis Severino. He'll go out there, he'll push himself, he'll be throwing 99 miles an hour, and then he's gonna miss. Oh, we're gonna get news a week before the regular season starts. Well, Luis Severino injured shoulder inflammation is going to be delayed to start the season. It's like, okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, nobody needs that. Nobody needs that. Not at all. Luis Severino, you need to be healthy and give us a full year. I want 30 starts.
Our guy Beltran, who we were not afraid to criticize in the Yes booth last year, is not going to be calling any games this year. He's taking a job in the Mets front office. I was actually pretty surprised to see that he got rehired for a front office job. I don't know what the job is. I don't think that's been specified yet, but
didn't we just have this argument about Beltran getting rehired?
We were talking about the Hall of Fame with
the
Beltran,
major leagues,
and if the cheating scandal would impact his Hall of Fame eligibility. And rehired, a front office job is not the same thing. I mean, he was in the front office for the Yankees as like a special advisor to, whatever, right? Like, so there's different levels of front office jobs. Like, he's not going to be the general manager. Just like, I don't think he's going to get another dugout job. I don't think you can put him back in the dugout. I don't know. Alex Cora got rehired, and AJ Hinch got rehired. But like Beltran never managed before.
AJ Hinch
Beltran, you were already taking a shot on Beltran when you hired him, and now, whatever. I don't know.
I think that Beltran is a very good baseball mind. He's good to be in an organization so that he can, give his he's got a lot of value to give an organization. He's a through and through baseball guy. I think he will be back in a dugout in the near future. I think this is kind of a bridge. The broadcast thing was not great for him. So, this is a good move for him.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I like Beltran. It's like, I don't want to see this completely ruin any potential jobs he could get or get into the Hall of Fame, because I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, even though he was wrapped up in the cheating scandal. I guess there's another book about the Astros cheating scandal that just came out. Evan Delrich, who did the initial reporting.
I saw something about that. He's the one who broke it from the Athletic.
Yeah.
And I guess they're talking about the lead up to it and like all the stuff that went into finding out what happened. Because I thought I read that it was 18 months ahead of when they broke it or something like that they had started doing their investigation.
So
it was a pretty good
months.
amount of time.
It broke in, I think it was like October, November of 2019, like right after the World Series in 2019. So they had started figuring mid 2018 season, I guess, is when they started doing this investigation.
That checks out, doesn't it? Yeah, that checks out for like the way things transpired.
Because in all the reporting that came out, and I remember talking to Andy Martino about this, after late in the 2017 season and then throughout the playoffs, suspicion started to be talked about like in baseball circles. Like, what are the Astros doing? Like, this is suspicious. So then at the start of the 2018 season is when like media people probably started investigating it.
When did I find that little blurb in a
dude? I think you fever dreamed that into existence. I don't, because we've never been able to track that down again.
I showed it.
I know you did.
We can,
but it was like
because the Astros deleted it from the internet.
It was a PDF. You found a PDF on like 4chan. Like, I don't.
It was like they were like game day notes. They were game day notes.
What was it? Sticky? Was it sticky stuff?
Yeah, it was about It was about like a talcum powder mix. It had Trevor Bauer involved in this.
Who's the guy that it was?
It was a damning report.
Why did we
of cheating?
What player initiated you looking into this though? There was a blister situation with the Yankees, wasn't there?
Oh, right, Rich Hill. No, it was Rich Hill was one of the guys that I went down a rabbit hole of looking up blisters because there was a recent string of blisters. Was it Evaldi? Did Evaldi get blisters?
No, Evaldi
at the time,
wasn't
maybe?
on the Yankees at this point. This was, I want to say, like 2017. 2018.
No, it wasn't. It was 18. It was
18?
afterwards. It was 18.
Okay, so Evaldi definitely wasn't on the Yankees. Who had a blister?
Yeah.
Did the Yankees pitcher have a blister issue in this time?
Someone had a blister, I think, at one point. Anyway, I started going down a rabbit hole of blisters, and that's how I found it.
J Happ had a blister for the Yankees? Because I know J Happ had Coxsackie
right.
when he came over. He got traded.
Yeah, Coxsackie.
I mocked
blisters,
Coxsackie at the time,
right
but Harrison has since had Coxsackie, hand, foot, and mouth disease.
Right.
No, that shit's no joke.
Right. Yeah. No, I felt bad mocking it too once you showed me pictures and told me about what Harrison was going through. It's not fun. It does not look fun at all.
Needs to come up with a better name.
It's such a crazy named, not even
hand,
Coxsackie, but hand, mouth, foot disease. Sounds like it's something from the Oregon
They
Trail.
need better branding.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
Also, Jeter is just on a vicious media tour. Went on Jimmy Fallon. He's on the cover.
He's letting it all hang out now.
He's on the cover.
Got the full like 5 o'clock shadow. That thing is thick.
He's got like it reminded me of like CeCe's 5 o'clock shadow beard.
It's one of those. It looks like one of those where like you shave in the morning. It's one of some of those people who just like all of a sudden you have to shave twice in a day. It's like the end of the day after you shave. Someone who's got just like a lot of facial hair.
Well, because there's the beard look. Like I've got a full beard. You go back and forth. But like then there's the beard look that it's just a permanent.
Mine's just getting gray, so it looks like it doesn't.
You gotta get a little
thinner.
Just for Men in there. So then there's the beard look that looks like you haven't shaved in a day and a half, and that's what Jeter's going with. He always shaved, not yesterday morning, the morning before.
Yeah, it's the I woke up, couldn't shave, still hungover from 2 days ago, beard.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's what he's going for. I think he's just he's styling it.
Yeah, and then he talked about being on. So he's going to be on the cover of MLB The Show, the collector's version, which he did the 2K series for a while. I remember I had those video games for Xbox or PS2, whatever I had, the last game system I had. He was on the 2K series for a while, but now he's going to be on the show cover for a collector's edition. And then he told a story about wearing a teammate's gold thong to break out of a 0-for-23 slump in 2004. Did he specify what teammate? Because I can almost guarantee this was Jason Giambi's gold thong.
I don't know if he specified, but I do love the story. The story's great. The fact that there's a gold thong running around to break out of a slump, it's very baseball-esque. That's the other thing about baseball is you do crazy shit like that. You do weird, quirky things about to get out of a slump. I don't know how many other sports are doing these types of things.
He went through another long slump. I want to say it was 2006 or 2000. Maybe it was this slump. It was the 04 slump. When was this though? Did this coincide with when A-Rod first came? Like, was this early in the season, this slump? Because
A-Rod probably wore a gold thong every day.
A lace thong. So I remember the gold thong, Giambi's gold thong. Like he's talked about a thong before. Giambi has. So I'm gonna Google Jason Giambi thong. My search results. Yeah. So in a Bleacher Report article, first thing that came up, Jason Giambi wears magic gold thong for sake of New York Yankees. This was posted May 19th, 2008. So I feel like Giambi is the Giambino is the thong.
So the 2004. So is this the same golden magic thong?
Probably was never washed.
4 years ago?
It was probably a 4-year-old thong.
Ooh.
Yeah, probably smelled ripe.
Oh my God, it was all hard. That's nasty. But you do what you got to do. You do what you got to do.
Anyway, I like
Probably wasn't gold anymore.
that Jeter is just more accessible now. Like it feels like he was so Jeter.
Kids, man.
So Jeter retired, and then he immediately went into I want to be an owner. I want to be front office ownership mode with the Marlins.
Well, he went through we're going to have a friendly medium for the world to know about us first with the Players Tribune. That was the first thing.
But that was vanilla.
So he went into media.
The thing is, it
was actually a pretty big move. If you think about how media, the landscape of media has evolved from at that point, the Players Tribune was one of the first, if not the first, like athlete forum, and now everybody has something, so he was certainly a guy on the forefront of that trend. There's no doubt.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying the move was vanilla, because I agree with what you just said. I'm just saying what we got from Jeter in the Players Tribune. I remember he did a couple of articles and maybe even a video. It was just vanilla crap, and it's because I think he did that children's book thing, and he was moving towards I want to be an owner, and so he was not accessible to Yankees fans, which is fine. And I just figured that's how it would always be. Like he was gonna pursue other things in his post-playing days. He didn't have an interest in being like a former New York Yankee. Just I'm gonna hang around the team. I'm gonna go on the broadcast. I'm gonna go on Jimmy Fallon and talk about gold thongs. Like I didn't think that's what Jeter was gonna do. But I'm enjoying that he's doing it now. It's fun to kind of have Derek Jeter back in our lives.
It is, and we have a more open Derek Jeter. I'm telling you that the parenthood was a big deal for him. Obviously, the whole Captain documentary opened a lot of doors to his private life, and he's involved there. It's just a matter of time now until he's back in the Yankees organization. Just a matter.
Yeah, I agree. And then I'm sure once he takes an official job with the Yankees, he's going to be more reserved, even though he's working with the Yankees. But yeah, I think he'll do something. What do you think it's going to be, though? Do you think it's going to be advisor role? Do you think it's going to be working with players? Is it going to be working in the front office?
I think eventually I think it's going to be a front office thing. So the players, I don't think it will be a players. I don't think he's going to be a coaching job. I think that he'll show up at spring training. I'm not saying this year. I'm saying how it's going to evolve. But I think it's going to be a front office job. You can't go from owner to baseball operations. The guy that's running a team.
He was the CEO of the Marlins.
Something.
Okay, and there's not a position in the Yankees available for him to be the CEO, because you've got that already and well established.
Not now. Not right this very minute. Not right this very minute. But we will look back at this, and I promise you, this man is going to be taking a couple jobs to get into the organization, and I could certainly see him being. I could see him as a general manager at one point. I think he's going to work his way up into that. He's going to work in the front office, special assistant, like that type of shit. Assistant GM, like I could absolutely.
I don't see him being assistant.
He's got
GM.
a good.
I don't think
baseball
he's going to
mind.
be. So Randy Levine, Esquire.
No, maybe it's not to Brian. I'm not saying it has to be to Brian Cashman. But I could see him in that type of role.
So Randy Levine is president. Lon Trost is chief operating officer. And then obviously Cashman is general manager / in charge of baseball operations. Then everyone else falls under the baseball operations underneath Brian Cashman. I would guess that Jeter is eyeing the president job at some point. And no one likes Randy Levine, so I'm totally fine with that. But at the same time, Randy Levine is essentially, call him Randy Levine Steinbrenner, because that's basically what it is.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. No, I think
he's got pictures and tape and things. It's like he knows where the bodies are buried. He helped bury the bodies.
He also feels like a guy that would tell you where the bodies are buried
accidentally
at some point.
Get a couple of whiskeys in him or whatever he drinks.
A couple of whiskeys and like this guy's gonna sing. But no, I think that Brian Cashman is the guy you're looking at. You're looking at Brian Cashman.
I don't think Jeter wants to be a day-to-day general manager. He wasn't the general manager.
I also don't think that it needs to happen immediately.
He wasn't the GM
when Brian Cashman,
Florida, though. He was the CEO. He hired former in the Yankees the woman GM. I can't think of her name right now. But
when you see Brian Derek Jeter get involved, it's going to be Brian Cashman will not be there, and it doesn't need to be the same roles. That's my point. Is like I think things will change once Brian Cashman is gone, and I could see an addition of a particular role or something. Maybe they divide up a particular role, and he slots into something that's on the business side, but also on has say in, in personnel. Would not be surprised.
Jeter's president, baseball operations, and then there's an acting general manager working directly with/for him.
Correct. I could see that. I could definitely see that.
So the other thing we were going to talk about, we mentioned this last episode, is how does Gerrit Cole stack up against other top pitchers when it comes to blow up starts? So we had Ilya pull some numbers, and we looked at the top pitchers in baseball. So I'm going to read a list of names for you real quick, Scott. And I want you to tell me something you notice about this list. Aaron Nola, Carlos Rodon, Justin Verlander, Sandy Alcantara, Kevin Gausman, Shohei Ohtani, Max Fried, Shane Bieber, Corbin Burns, Framber Valdez, Dylan Cease, Zach Gallen, is that how you say it? Gallen, Yu Darvish, Logan Webb, Alek Manoah. What do you notice about that list?
Well, two things I noticed. I noticed those are all frontline starters on teams, and I noticed that our frontline starter
That's
is not
correct.
on that list.
Those were 15 names. Gerrit Cole did not appear in those 15 names. Gerrit Cole ranked 23rd in baseball last year. This was ordered by WAR for starting pitchers, and Gerrit Cole was 23rd, 3.3. Nola was first at 6.3. Rodon, our new stud starting pitcher, 6.2, just behind Nola. So we took a look at how many games each of these guys pitched and allowed 4 or more runs, and then 5 or more runs. And then obviously the games that are 5 or more runs are also included in the 4 or more runs. Gerrit Cole ranked not the most for the blow-up games. He had 10 games with 4 or more runs, and then of those 10 games, 5 were 5 or more runs. Nola, surprisingly, who was the number 1 most valuable pitcher in baseball last year, had more than Cole. He had 11 total games of 4 or more runs, and 6 of those games had 5 or more runs. Nola's ERA was 3.25 for the season. Cole's was 3.5. So Nola just pitched a heck of a lot better in the other games than Gerrit Cole. But the big thing here is Gerrit Cole allowed 33 home runs on the season. Nola allowed 19. 19 is still kind of a lot for a front-end starting pitcher, but holy shit, 33 home runs allowed for Gerrit Cole. But then you start going down the list, and the blow-up starts are far fewer. Rodon is number 3. He had 6 blow-up starts. Verlander had 3. Alcantara had 7. Gausman had 8. Ohtani had 4. Fried had 4. Like, everyone else on this list had 6 or 7 at most. And then there's a few guys on here. Manoah had only 3. So, like, you look at the guys, like, and if we want to say Gerrit Cole can be that Justin Verlander, just top of the rotation, number 1 guy. Verlander had 3 blow-up starts. Cole had 10. That's a huge difference.
So when you look at the amount of home runs that 33 home runs left,
alarming.
That's 10 more than the next highest. If I was looking at that correctly, 10 more.
Yeah, 10
the
more
next
than
highest
Corbin Burns.
was Corbin Burns at 23 home runs. So that's a couple of years ago, Justin Verlander was on that list of some of the most home runs given up. And look at where he was last year. He gave up 3 games with 4 more runs, 2 with only 5. So only a handful of bad starts and 12 home runs allowed compared to 33 for our guy. That is such a significant difference in how you approach a game and how you finish a game. And look, this is exactly what we expected to see. The feeling of the starts for Gerrit Cole last year was that he just didn't finish games. There were so many frustrating opportunities where the Yankees could have finished games and he just didn't, or he had a complete meltdown a few times. And this isn't even really accounting for a few meltdowns, because there were meltdowns, like even beyond 4, just like straight meltdowns that you do not expect from a guy that's your number 1 pitcher that's making the amount of money that he makes. So he absolutely needs to improve the numbers. And when you look at the WAR, the value of a player for their particular team, 23rd amongst all starting pitchers that are eligible for this list. That's bad. That's very bad. So this guy needs to get better, like bottom line. And it all goes down, I think, to finishing his starts. Cause a lot of these problems, surfaced in the 5th, 6th inning. There were a few that were their major blowups, but he really had a problem finishing what he started. And that's not a good trait to have as a number one guy on your team, a supposed number one guy on your team.
Right. If you're the number 3, 4, 5 pitcher on the team, and the manager is sending you back out there for the 6th inning, and maybe it's questionable if you should be going back out there, and then you allow a big 3-run home run. Yeah, you're mad at the pitcher, but you're also mad at the manager. When it's Gerrit Cole being sent back out there for the 6th inning and he gives up a big 3-run home run, you're like, well, you're Gerrit Cole. You should be pitching 7 innings every single night. You shouldn't be giving up 3-run home runs just because it's the 3rd time through the order. Like, you're better than that. Be better than that. And
you should be better than that. You're getting paid to be better.
And I understand, like, he's not going to be perfect. Like, Justin Verlander having only three blow up starts on the season is amazing. And maybe that's unobtainable. Maybe that's a little bit of a fluke, but 10 is
it? Because Ohtani had 4, Bieber had 4, Fried had 4.
Yeah. So
Manoah had 3. Like you said, Darvish had 5. So it's not unobtainable.
They're going to happen, but there shouldn't be 10 of them, because that's a third of your starts. Gerrit Cole, you make 30 starts in a season, roughly 32 starts. 10 of them are just blow up games. And I know the Yankees probably won a good amount of those games, and that's great. But if you're saying our number one pitcher is going out there and a third of the time we're going to have to score 6 runs just to win, like that's unacceptable for Gerrit Cole. You got to be more reliable to that. You're not going to have a letdown on a game, even if it's a Tuesday against whoever, the Rangers or whatever. You got to just be more consistent. You can't have 10 games, 4 or 5 runs.
Yeah, because guess what? It comes out in the playoffs as well. It's not like you could just turn.
Then you don't feel
off.
Great about it. That's why we
can't turn it off. It's not just. Yeah, you can't turn it off. Here's the thing: when he's bad, he doesn't. He can't regain a feel almost half the time when he's bad. It just keeps going, or he loses a feel, and you can't have that in the playoffs. You can't have that guy surface in the playoffs when he's taking the ball in the first game of a series. It can't happen. And as a manager, like, I feel for Boone, as much as we criticize him, but you're giving the ball to a guy that's supposed to be your number one ace. And who knows, maybe he's going to have one of those 11 blow up starts. Maybe he's going to be a guy that can't get through the 3rd, 4th, 5th inning in a playoff game when you're trying to, start, whether you're trying to start a series on the right note, and you should feel confident giving it to that guy. He's got to regain that confidence, because right now I don't have it.
So if you look at Cole and Rodon, who should be the rocks of the rotation this year, that's 16 starts combined last year that they give up 4 or more runs. It has to be fewer. There needs to be 9 total, right? Like 9 total this season between those two guys of 4 or more runs. That's allowing.
I mean, call it 10. 5 and 5 is fine.
But it can't be 16.
No. And Rodon, I mean, this is kind of putting him in a light that's not as great, because he's taken he only had 6. So
fine. If Rodon has another 6, and even if Cole has 5 or 6, okay, that might be 10 or 11, but that's an improvement, right?
Right. So, but the one guy needs to get much better. One guy.
Absolutely. But damn. But this was an example of, like, our gut and our eyes said one thing, and the numbers back it up, because there was just that feeling that there was just way too many of those starts where Cole went out there and you're just like, oh crap, it's the 3rd inning and he's got 70 pitches and he's already given up 3 home runs.
Cole also has significantly the highest ERA on this list, which makes sense given the amount of home runs he's given up and games with 4 runs and 5 runs scored.
The interesting,
like, a lot of guys are giving up solo shots.
33 home runs.
Verlander
it's so many home runs.
It's crazy.
So many home runs. That's a home run a start.
And they're not solo shots.
Home run a start.
They're not solo shots.
I mean, the thing is, though, it's like the counter to this is, Nola had more blow up games than Cole and finished first on the WAR list for pitchers. So it can be done. I didn't watch any Aaron Nola starts last year. I haven't looked up his numbers, but I guarantee you every other start is just so elite that it just made up for it. And I'm sure Phillies fans are like, hey, Aaron, how about not having 11 blow-up starts next year? Just be a little bit more consistent. And that's a fair criticism, even though he was the number one most valuable pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, it shows how much even more valuable that guy can be if he were to clean up some of those bad starts. You know, when you're looking at Gerrit Cole, like with his ERA where it is as well, it's you need to improve everything, to be honest.
Logan just made an interesting point. The Detroit start, which we remember for being an awful start because he walked everybody, is not in these numbers because he didn't.
Oh, he didn't
give up more than 4 runs in that game, even though he was pulled in like the second inning.
He only gave up 2,
but
he had 5 walks.
5 walks in 2 innings. So I'm sorry, that's a blow up start, even if it's not 4 or more runs, right? So that's 11 blow up starts.
Were there unearned runs in there as well?
Schmidt got out of the jam for him.
Yeah, and then it was 1 hit, 2 earned runs, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts.
Call it 11 awful starts. 11 awful starts last year for Cole.
I was just thinking, yes, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I'm not gonna defend
No, you're the Cole. You're the Cole.
I am the Cole fan, but
hold on real quick before you say it. What should be included in this as well is 4 runs given up or pulled before the 4th inning.
I don't think, for instance, he had 1 start in here. I don't remember where it was. 8 innings, 5 runs. It's bad, but it's not the same as an inning and 2/3 and 5 walks.
The inning and 2/3. What was the 8 innings, 5 runs game?
That was against Baltimore at Yankee Stadium.
Did the Yankees win that game?
They didn't. If you remember that game, he gave up the lead late, I believe.
Well, obviously he was out there. He was probably cruising through 7 innings or something.
He gave up.
Was that the game he gave up
6th inning?
He gave up the 5th run in the 6th inning, and then he pitched 2 more innings.
Yep. They must have been thin. He threw a lot of pitches. He threw 110 pitches.
That's surprising. That's not a good start because
it was tied 4-4.
He had
the big inning, the 3rd inning. He gave up 4 runs, and then he was dominant the rest of the game.
That's not a good start.
It's not a good start. And then the 6th inning, he gave up the lead, and then the Yankees couldn't score. So
yeah, that's not a good start.
Sounds about right.
It's just not a good start for you.
It is. No, that does sound about right because he has those big innings and then he settles in. You're like, oh, okay, he settled in. And then he has another big inning or another really bad mistake. His bad mistakes are terrible.
Yeah.
The thing about Cole is last year he was victimized of the 1 inning. He was 6 innings, 5 runs against the Red Sox. He had a 5. He had
1 against
3
the
run inning.
Blue Jays. He had 1 I remember against the Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even 2 against the Blue Jays. Yeah.
He had that game against Seattle, which is right here. He
That's
gave
a
up
classic
6 runs in the 1st inning and then pitched 6 innings.
That's a classic power pitcher thing, though. It's always there's 1 inning, he doesn't have his command, he leaves some fastballs over the plate, and guys make him pay. I'm not.
You can't give up 5 and 6 runs, though. You can't do that.
That's still bad. That's still bad.
That means multiple people are getting to you. Multiple people are getting to you.
Which one was the Vlad game where Vlad took him deep 3 times? Wasn't there a game early in the season where Vlad
that was the game that he tipped his hat to Vlad. I think it was it was in Toronto.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't tip your hat to the other guy who just
was it September 28th?
No. Vlad hit 2 or 3 home runs off of Cole at Yankee Stadium early in the season, if I remember. Might have even been the same series that Judge and Stanton had that awesome 3-run home run walk-off against the Blue Jays. It's in April or May.
The only start that Cole had, he had 5 2/3. It was his 2nd start of the season. Oh yeah, Vlad went 4 for 4 with him with 4 RBIs.
Great. Tip of the cap to Vlad.
Now, the only thing I want to talk about though is if you look at Rodon's game log, right? Because what we were talking about with Cole was a lot of his starts were bad, but they were 1 inning, and he was still getting 6 innings, 7 innings, 8, whatever, 5 innings. So he blows up and he blows up and doesn't come back. So he had 1 start against St. Louis, 3 2/3, 10 hits, 8 runs.
This is Rodon.
This is just nothing there.
10 hits.
Yeah.
10 hits in 3. That's a lot. It's a lot of contact.
5 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs.
That's a bad day. That's a bad day. That's a guy that's not just missing in 1 inning.
So are you saying Rodon is either on or he's off. It's unlike Cole, where he'll have games. There's points. There's always a stretch.
I'm on for 3 innings.
There's
off
always
for
a stretch.
1. On for 2. Off for
like
1.
Even the Detroit start, we talk about this one a lot. That is the most outlier start of Gerrit Cole's season because
of his career.
He's just completely off. Didn't have anything. All of these other blow up starts we're talking about, there were periods in that game where he was dominating.
Just about.
And it's frustrating because he had the one moment or the 2 moments in the game where the other team got to him. Rodon, though, it sounds like that bothers. Yeah, but Rodon, it sounds like he's just off from the start, and it's 8 hits and 2 1/3 innings.
Well, like here's another one. He did 4 innings, 5 runs against the Padres. He had a 4 1/3, 4 hits, 4 runs.
Well,
he runs into, you want to know how you know if Rodon's off? I'm going to say it now. When he's walking people. So like that game against the Padres,
not gonna call that.
No, but like,
yeah,
they were pitched like
what's
Cole
his
gets
walk?
hit.
What was his
Cole
walk
really
rate?
doesn't walk people. I mean, I know
no,
he
Cole doesn't. No, yeah,
he
gets
Cole doesn't
hit.
walk people. But here's the difference. What you're saying, Rodon, and this is the recipe for disaster for any pitcher ever. If you don't have location, then the batters now are looking for spots, or they're going to take a ball. Where Gerrit Cole finds his problems is that, maybe he doesn't have the location, but he leaves fastballs over the plate. He leaves fastballs directly over the plate when he's off, and he still tries to beat people, and he doesn't beat them. Whereas a guy like Rodon, it doesn't have location, but he's trying to hit corners and trying to do things, and he's not missing over the plate. 10 hits tells me on a start like that where, guys are making contact, guys are getting on base, but he's not giving up.
He's not giving up a lot of home runs. He only gave up 12. Rodon did last year. 12 home runs. Right. So if he's walking people, that's guys on base, and then he'll give up contact and guys will score, but it's not going to be via the 3-run home run.
You know what? If he's gonna have a 2.88 ERA and have 6 blow-up starts as we determined,
it's fine. It's great.
It shows how dominant he is in his other starts. Comparatively,
and also, here's the thing for Rodon. He's the number 2 pitcher on this team. Gerrit Cole is the number 1 pitcher on this team. So the pressure, the criticism is always going to be bigger and more for Gerrit Cole than it is Carlos Rodon or Nestor Cortez or Luis Severino or Frankie Montas or Domingo Germán, Clark Schmidt, Devi Garcia, Ian Kennedy. Is he still around?
I mean, you're just naming all of the pitchers.
But yes, that was what we talked about.
But now that
Houston,
Rodon,
though,
hold on,
that's what we said in Houston when it was Verlander and Cole in Houston. Who was the alpha? Who was the alpha in Houston?
Well, for sure, and not the guy with the Kermit voice. Let me tell you the difference, though, is that Rodon now just got a massive deal, and whether he's the number 2 guy on this team, the number 1 team deal, he's still a big deal. The expectation is for him to come out and perform.
If he sucks, he's going to get criticized, absolutely. But if he has 6 blow-up starts and an ERA around 3, he's not going to get criticism this year.
No, for sure. I mean, that's good. I would 1,000% take that. I would take that. I would take that for Gerrit Cole.
Could be a big improvement.
But yeah, Gerrit Cole needs to be better.
All right, we're going to also go around the league and just look at some offseason moves that teams made and give them a grade, and then also give the Yankees a grade because we can't remember if we ever did that. But before we get to that, I want to tell you guys about Athletic Greens, my favorite daily routine that I've added to my life, and I know Scott agrees with that. AG1 is a daily supplement that you're supposed to drink every single day, first thing in the morning before you have your coffee or anything like that. Get all those nutrients to soak up in your body and you start your day right. It's packed with 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food-sourced ingredients, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. Some of the benefits include that it supports mental clarity and alertness, promotes gut health with pre and probiotics. It can give you better sleep quality and recovery, and it boosts your energy. Quickly on the pre and probiotics. So again, like we talk about how this is an affordable way to get so many good nutrients in your body. Like if you're just buying a probiotic separately in a pill form or whatever, or a drop form that you're going to be drinking every day, you're going to be spending more than if you just get all these other things with the Athletic Greens as well. It's all wrapped up into the one scoop, which is amazing. Each serving contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial flavoring. It's affordable. As I just said, every single serving costs less than $3. It's easy and efficient. You can do the bottle the night before, put it in the fridge so it's nice and cold, or just simply scoop it and add 8 ounces of water, shake it up, and you're good to go. You can take it on the road with you. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews and is trusted by athletes and health experts around the world. Go to athleticgreens.com/pinstripes for a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs when you purchase AG1. Again, our link is athleticgreens.com/pinstripes. We really appreciate the support of Athletic Greens. They're going to be with us all season long. And you guys out there who have tried it, it's the number one way you guys can help the show. Obviously, rating and reviewing and listening is all good. But if you find the ads that we do talk about helpful, use our link, because that means the sponsors are going to notice and they're going to come back. And Scott and I have been doing this for freaking 8 years at this point. And
97 years.
And it's always been free to listen to, and it will always be free to listen to. And so this is how we're able to, to continue doing the show. So thank you.
Help yourself out too, and preload those things. Put them in the refrigerator for the week. That's what I do, because if I left it up to myself to do it every single day, it would not happen.
You're your own worst enemy. All right, so the way we're going to do the offseason grades, Logan, you're going to go through the teams that we want to cover and quickly touch on the moves that they made. And then Scott and I will alternate with our grades. But should we start with the Yankees, or do you want to do the Yankees last, Scott? I don't remember if we ever did the Yankees grades. We probably did.
I don't think we should do the Yankees today, because let's just talk about the other league. We got spring training coming up, a week away from spring training. Guys showing up. I think it's a good opportunity for us to just go back around the division and the league and identify some of these teams and just kind of recap some of the things that they were doing, because we're going to be diving into the depths of Yankee world all through spring training.
Cool.
And it's going to be fun. It's going to be electric.
All right. What do we got first?
So let's start in the AL East, because they're the most important. Let's start with the Blue Jays. They added a lot. They added Chris Bassett, who's big. Dalton Varsho was that big trade with Arizona. Kevin Kiermaier, Brandon Belt, and then a couple of Eric Swanson, Zach Thompson, Chad Green, some bullpen arms. But they did lose a lot. They lost Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and Teoscar Hernandez in the outfield, along with Gabriel Marino, who was their top catching prospect. I think their offense definitely got worse, but they got more balanced, got more athletic, got better defensively.
That's what stood out to me also. I remember talking about this when they were doing the Varsho trade. Yeah, so I was reading a little blurb on the Blue Jays moves. I forget where I read it, but I guess run prevention, defense, and just lineup flexibility and roster flexibility was a problem for them last year. And so that seemingly was their priority. And I mean, obviously it could not work out for them, and their offense could be a letdown, and then they don't score as many runs. They're not as good of a team. And then we're all criticizing their offseason moves. But if they identified that as a problem, and it clearly looks like they are addressing that, and Bassett is a pretty good starting pitcher who they added, mm-hmm. I kind of got to give them like an A- for their offseason.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. They tightened their defense. You had a Kiermaier in there for 1 year, a guy who's familiar with the division, who is still a very good defender. He's gotten better offensive production later in his career, but the guy is clearly known for his glove. It's going to add a very good run prevention guy out there. The trade for Varsho, and you're right, Bassett's that's a really good arm to throw in the middle of your rotation. So I think they got better. I mean, Teoscar Hernandez is a big loss. Gurriel Jr. I think they replaced him, to be honest. Teoscar Hernandez is the guy that kind of has flied under the radar in the past, but has put up like insanely productive numbers. He's been a force out there. So I think that's the one guy that they're certainly going to miss, but they got younger. And then they got some good role players. Actually, like a guy like Belt, Belt to come in and not play every day.
Scrub. Like he can hit. No. And yeah, the role players is something that seems like they might've been lacking.
And with Kiermaier and Belt, those are two very solid guys that can come in and play, every day if needed, but also come in at for pinch hitting or defense and do good things, or they can play matchups a little bit better. So I actually think they got better. They have a nucleus that's one of the best in baseball.
Their core offense is still
and they added
really scary.
Oh, for sure. And what they did is they filled gaps. They were filling gaps in how they could be a more complete team. And I think unfortunately for this division, I think they did a good job.
So A-. We're giving them A-.
Yeah, we'll make that a collective A-.
So next in the division was Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay lost a lot of guys, but we all know that doesn't mean anything. They lost David Peralta, Corey Kluber, Kevin Kiermaier, Mike Zunino, JP Fireeisen, along with some others, G-Man Choi. The only addition that they made was they signed Zach Eflin to 3 years, $40 million. So
the largest free agent contract in franchise history.
The largest, yep. So he should win the Cy Young, because if they give him $40 million to somebody, they gotta know something. And also a bunch of minor league signings.
Did Eflin have?
A lot. They also went to work on the extensions. That should be taken into account. They extended Yandy Diaz, Pete Fairbanks, and Jeffrey Springs, all for 3 and 4 years, respectively. Low money deals.
You can go first on this one, Scott.
So again, these guys are adding solid players to already a good nucleus. I have all the confidence in the world that the Rays are going to come out with guys that we've never heard of, that we're going to be, they're going to produce at a high level. They do it every year with their bullpen. So I don't think any of the guys that they lost are really going to be too far off to actually get them where they need to be. Shane Baz is going to be, coming back. Their pitching is good. Glasnow should be ready, right? He's ready to throw again. They're going to have a formidable starting lineup.
But that's not their offseason. Those are guys coming back from injury.
I know that, but I'm saying their offseason, they added a lot of, for this particular team. I'm not saying this well. This particular team, it doesn't matter as much what their offseason. Their offseason, they are getting a bunch of young guys back. They are getting healthier. And I think that's a big reason why they didn't have to go out and get a whole bunch of guys. They produce from within. Like at the end of the day, they went out and signed a guy that is a young guy that's going to help them in the starting rotation, which I think will be a very good thing. But they didn't need a whole bunch. They didn't need a lot to go out there and get. So, by giving them a grade, like to me, it's a B, a solid B, if not B plus, because they didn't need a ton. They really didn't. They needed to be healthy. They were really hit hard last year with the injury bug, which hadn't happened to them as much in the past. So I think if they are able to return and be healthy, like they have a ton of talent on this team, and they added another guy that's going to be a force in the rotation.
I agree with everything you just said. It's just they didn't do much this offseason, so I can't give them anything higher than a B minus. I'm not saying it was a bad offseason.
So but if you don't need to fill very many holes, then are you being in this grading system penalized because you didn't add more just to add more?
No, that's not being penalized. But if you had only few holes and maybe you addressed them, maybe you didn't, that doesn't just mean you're an A because you had fewer holes.
Well, that's the thing. I think they addressed where they needed to and what they lost.
They did lose a lot.
That's why I gave them a B. I didn't give them an A.
I
didn't give them an A. They didn't go out and make like a splashy move by any means, but they are a young, good team already. True. And by adding another young, good starting pitcher, it makes them a much better team.
7, 8, 9. They lost 9 players off of their 26-man roster. And they only
name those guys. They lost Peralta, Corey Kluber, Mike Zunino.
Whether those players are studs,
JP Fireeisen,
whether those players are
G-Man Choi,
matter.
And
that's
Yarbrough.
9 players on the Rays starting roster last year are not there anymore. Whether you like those guys or not, that's a fact. And their offseason moves, they're only bringing in 1 new player. Yes, will they promote from within and probably be better? Sure, but then I can't.
That has to be part of it, though.
I have to see
they're a young team that promotes from within.
Okay, I'm giving them a B minus. You're giving them a would you say A plus plus?
It's a solid a B. I give them a solid
B.
B.
So let me get this straight.
And you got not to mention the other thing.
I said B minus.
Yeah, I don't know what you're arguing about. I gave them a B before you said B minus, homie. The other thing is that Wander Franco, who was hurt a large portion of the year, is a top 3 shortstop. Yes. And they're going to have him back.
And like Glasnow.
This is the Brian Cashman. We did the things, we're getting these guys back at the
we're
trade
acquiring
deadline.
Luis Severino at the deadline.
Yeah. You could say that. Let's put all the young studs that are going to be coming in for the Rays and say they acquired them, because that is what's happening.
All right.
I just don't want people to think this offseason they didn't do a lot, so they're not going to be that much better. They are going to be better because they're going to be existent. They're going to be healthier in theory. And they did add a very good starting pitcher. So careful what you ask for.
I just love how we can argue over the fact that we're off by a minus to just a regular B minus to B.
Because it's how you get to that grade, Andrew. It's how you get to that grade.
Let's go to Baltimore because, they finished next in the division.
I'm going to say the same damn thing.
Well, no, I don't think you are, because Baltimore came out and they said that they're going to try and add pieces. They lost some, Rougned Odor, fan favorite, Jordan Lyles, Robinson Chirinos, Jesus Aguilar, who was a midseason addition. But they said they needed to fix their rotation, and they did that by getting Cole Irvin and Kyle Gibson. So you be the judge of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they traded for James McCann to back up Adley Rutschman, Adam Frazier, who's an underrated, solid move. And then they brought back Michael Givens on a 1-year deal. And that's about it.
So, yeah, they did not fix their rotation with those moves. And if they were saying that's what we needed to do, well, you didn't do it. But at
a couple of teams rebuilt their whole rotation.
They solidified their rotation. Again, an extremely young team that has to be taken into consideration.
That is taken into consideration.
How they are being built. They are not like the Rays. They are not built through free agency. So that's a very big point that needs to be made. And
while the Orioles had a great season last year, a surprising season, and I think they're not going to finish in last place because I think the Red Sox are much worse. That's all true. They're still not going to win the division, and they're likely not going to make the playoffs. And even if they solidified the rotation more, that was still going to be the case. So I think they needed to be realistic about what are we building for? Are we trying to build a contender in 2023, or are we trying to build something that's continuing to grow, and maybe 2024, 2025, 2026 can be a division winner? That's what they should be doing. And so they still did that this year, even though a lot of these moves are
They did do that. They signed a bunch of 1-year guys,
right?
They signed a bunch of 1-year guys. They're doing exactly what you just said. Okay, hold on.
I haven't even given them a grade
because
yet.
I'm gonna give them an A. I'm gonna give them an A, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna give them an A, because there is a scale here. Okay, and just to piss you off, I'm gonna give them an A. Yeah. What did I say? Scale? Curve.
Okay, I was gonna give them a B.
All right, I'm giving them an A, and let me tell you why. Exactly for the reasons that you described. They signed veteran guys. A guy like Kyle Gibson has been a good starting pitcher in Minnesota. He was good in Philadelphia. The guy is a solid starting pitcher, and they needed that. They needed to be able to move the ball and allow their young guys to flourish. Because if this team is going to be good, it's because their young talent is going to take that next leap, and they have a ton of young talent in the rotation and in their lineup. They have a guy like Adley Rutschman who's going to come in first full year as their catcher, who got rave reviews, was good offensively, is a very good defensive catcher. Like, he's a franchise guy. When you're adding some of these 1-year guys, you're basically kicking the can down the road and trying to fill gaps at the same time and allow your young guys to flourish and to be the superstars of the team. It's exactly what they did. They're not stopping anybody or stunting anybody's growth. They're allowing their young guys to step in, actively, grow and take the lead for this team. And they added solid veterans around them, which on 1-year deals, which allows them to be as good as they can be because their young guys are going to carry them, and then also allow them to make, significant moves next year if the progression of the team does what they think and the talent wise. So I think that they did a fantastic job, to be honest. And this is the first year I'm seeing where the Orioles, because I think a lot of this talent is ready to start competing at a pretty high level, and they might get some guys that are, better than we think. They're going to be a pain in the ass. They're going to be a massive pain in the ass. So I'm glad we don't have to play them 19 times.
What do you think Kyle Gibson's ERA for the past 4 seasons is? You called him a pretty good pitcher.
He's a solid middle of the rotation guy. He's like I'm not looking at it, 4.25.
4.60, which is a 94 ERA plus, which is 6% worse than league average.
Okay, so he's a number 3, number 4 on that team. Again,
he'll give him innings.
You're getting some guys out on that team. They had some really, really bad pitching.
Yeah.
We're also, don't forget who we're talking about here.
Yeah. That's why I'm giving him a B.
How many blow up starts did he have?
All of them were blow up starts.
Yeah.
All right.
B.
Let's move.
He's also pitching in a much more friendly Camden Yards.
Yosemite in left field.
Yeah. No, Gibson has some high upside though. He's been like last year, the beginning of last
yeah, I know. I conveniently didn't mention that.
Yeah. I have to play.
He definitely does. Yeah.
Let's go to the Red Sox because
F.
What are they doing? F is right. They brought in Justin Turner on a 2-year, $21 million deal. Don't know why they did that when they could have had JD Martinez back, but whatever. Corey Kluber making his AL East rounds. Adam Duvall, they gave Yoshida, the kid from Japan,
crazy
$90 million for what everybody in the industry deems is ridiculous. They traded for Mondesi to play shortstop because Trevor Story's hurt. Joely Rodriguez, Kenley Jansen, they gave him $16 million a year for 2 years, and Richard Polaire. But they lost a ton. Xander Bogaerts, JD Martinez, Tommy Pham, amongst others like Nathan Eovaldi and Rich Hill. They DFA'd Matt Barnes because what are they doing? And then they gave Devers the $331 million extension.
They're schizophrenic. There's just no direction as to what they're doing. It's like, okay, you're not gonna sign Mookie Betts and you're gonna trade him for garbage, and you're gonna let Xander Bogaerts walk and not sign him. Just do the same thing with Devers. Trade Devers. Get a prospect haul for Devers. Nope, we're going to sign him to $300 million and still be bad this year. I don't understand what they're doing. F. Seriously, F.
Yeah, it's a D or an F for me too. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of direction. They're trying to fill gaps and be like sneaky with some of these, but they're not being sneaky. You lose a guy like JD Martinez and you add Turner. It's, not all that different besides their position, but really both guys are going to be DH. I don't know what they're doing. They're not, you're banking on what Chris Sale being healthy again, not happening. They lost their best starting pitcher, you could argue, with Nathan Eovaldi. So Corey Kluber is going to come in and give you fine, like less than average, probably, something that's not too far off of what the Orioles did. And you don't have the young talent to come over and take over a particular team besides Devers. So I don't know what they're doing. It doesn't seem like they have a lot of direction. I totally agree with you.
All right. Now that we're done with the AL East, let's move a little bit more quickly through these. Let's start with the Guardians, who I like their moves. They finished first. Obviously, they added Josh Bell to play first base on a big contract for them, $33 million. Mike Zunino kind of replaced Austin Hedges. They also lost Owen Miller, but that's about it.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of feels like lateral moves for them.
Well, Josh Bell's, that's an addition.
Josh Bell is a thumper in the middle of that lineup that they needed. Owen Miller had a good start to the season, but faded off, he became the guy I think most people thought he was. He did have a hot start. He was on my fantasy team and I took note of that, but Josh Bell is a guy that's going to come in and add, a very different type of dynamic to that lineup. These guys turn the lineup over. They get on base a lot. They make a lot of contact. And now you have a thumper in there who could, who can drive some production. So he's going to have a ton of opportunity to drive in a lot of runs and have some serious production. So I think they got better because of that. But they, again, like they didn't do a lot. So I'm giving them a C plus B.
Yeah. Wait,
what are you giving them? A C plus or a B? Or B minus? What?
B minus. Yeah. C plus B minus. They're on the edge of it. I'll give them.
I was going to say B minus too. Cause I mean, yeah, you're right. Bells will help that lineup, but I just don't think they with more moves, they could have been the clear favorite for that division, which they're still probably the clear favorite, but also could be a team that comes out of the American League because of how good their pitching staff is top to bottom. But I don't think they did enough to warrant that. So it's a B minus.
Okay. The White Sox finished in second place. They added Benintendi, Mike Clevenger, who's now suspended for assault. So we don't know if he's going to be around. They lost Jose Abreu, that's a big loss that they did not really replace. Johnny Cueto, who was really good for them, Josh Harrison and Elvis Andrus, they also lost. So I also don't really know what's going on there.
Yeah, and they were a disappointment last year. They losing Abreu, like I know we're going to talk about the Astros. Abreu's still can mash, okay? And now you add Abreu to the Astros, that makes that lineup a lot more scary. And you take it out of the White Sox lineup. I know they added Benintendi, but Benintendi's not as scary of a hitter as Abreu. So no. that's not good. That they did not get better. D for the White Sox.
Yeah, I agree. I think they definitely had an opportunity to get better. Even Clevinger, you know, if he wasn't an asshole on the field, just isn't the same guy. It was a 1-year flyer deal, essentially 1 year, $8 million. So they have good young talent on that team as well, so they could surprise. But they were a disappointment last year. There's no doubt about it. When you lose Abreu and you're not really adding a ton, like Benintendi's a nice player. He's a nice piece that fits a good team. He's a much better fit on the Yankees than he is the White Sox.
That's a good way to put it.
I think he would have a much better season and you put a much better numbers on the Yankees than you did the White Sox, than he will with the White Sox, because he's a much better fit for what the team needs in the lineup and in the field, to be honest. So yeah, I'll give them a D. I think that they did not improve. They're still, unless they come out and prove people wrong from what their team was last year, they're still a 500 team.
Agree.
Okay. The Twins finished in 3rd place. They added Joey Gallo, so they might win the division just on that. Michael Taylor, who's a good fielder. Kyle Farmer, Christian Vasquez, and Pablo Lopez in the trade where they lost Luis Arias, so that's a big loss. They also lost Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela, because that trade keeps on.
You said loss.
Addition by subtraction.
Addition by subtraction, but that trade just keeps looking better and better for both of them. And then obviously Carlos Correa gets a big boost to that offseason.
Does it? They're retaining Carlos Correa.
They are, but I mean, they almost let him walk twice. So
isn't that technically a free agent signing, because he was with another team? He's with 2 other teams. Yeah, he's like. I don't know. So I actually think they got better. I do. I think that Joey Gallo, whatever, like just erase that one. I think Michael Taylor is a nice player for what they need, especially with the injury history of Byron Buxton. You're adding a guy who's a veteran guy who's got some pop, good defender. He's a good player. I've liked Michael Taylor.
Vasquez and then the other for them, two, obviously.
Vasquez is a sneaky, very good catcher. Vasquez is also one of those guys that, like, I just don't want to be on the opposing team, because I think he's just a very good. He's a glue guy. He's a good teammate. He's just a good guy to have on your roster. So yeah, they got significantly better, in my opinion, on the catching side, because they lost a guy who's a schlub and they added someone who seemingly has good relationships, plays with a lot of energy. And then you adding Pablo Lopez as well. So I think they got better. They signed Correa. When you look at who they lost Sano, but Sano is not the same guy for a while.
Since 2018.
He's Gary
2018, 2019.
Yeah. Plays a different position.
What's amazing to me.
Yeah. And Michael Fulmer was very good in the bullpen. So they did lose a bullpen piece there. He was an extremely good bullpen piece. But yeah, I think they did, and they lost Arias. That's another one that you can't. I mean, he was the batting champion. But they got Lopez for him, which I think is a tremendous deal for them. I think it makes them better. If they're better on the pitching side, they're going to put up runs. They always have. They're going to hit home runs. Joey Gallo will swing more, will miss more times than anybody else on the planet. But he will hit occasionally some home runs.
In 2019, the Twins won 101 games. They lost to the Yankees in the ALDS. But like, it's just, I'm looking at that roster. It's so far. Their roster now just looks. I guess there's still Kepler,
Buxton,
Kepler, Sano. Like, yeah, there's some key pieces that are still there. How the frick did this team win 101 games that year?
Balls.
They did hit a boatload of
home runs.
Yeah, they did hit so many home runs in their lineup. Cruz had 41 home runs. Kepler had 36. Sano had 34. Rosario had 32. Mitch Garver hit 31 home runs. So they did hit a boatload of home runs. But it's just like, that seems like decades ago, that team, to where they are now. I guess they did improve this offseason. So B+, what did you say? B+? I feel like we're giving everyone a B.
Yeah, it's a B because again, I don't think anybody's standing out.
I don't think anyone had.
I think the Blue Jays by far had the best.
We said A- for the Blue Jays. I don't think anyone really in that we've talked about deserves an A. I mean, other than the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays is only because like they address something very specific. They're not glamorous additions. They just tried to address something very specific.
Okay, quickly, let's go through the AL West. The Astros, they made one addition, Jose Abreu. That's a big one. They also kept Michael Brantley and Rafael Montero, who are on expiring contracts. They lost Yuli Gurriel, Aledmys Diaz, Trey Mancini, Christian Vasquez, Jason Castro, Justin Verlander. Big loss.
That's huge. That's a huge loss. Yeah, I mean, I know they're pitching as a lot of young guys, but the fact that they're losing Verlander, I think that's going to hurt them. And so B- for them, C+, B-. The lineup is getting slightly better, but I think the pitching staff without Verlander is not nearly it doesn't have Verlander. Like it doesn't have that number one guy that
when you remove Verlander away from a rotation, you're worse,
right.
Even if you're adding more runs on the side of Abreu. That lineup is nasty. The lineup is going to be scary for sure. So if they can get some pitching from their minor leagues, and they obviously have some guys that they believe are going to contribute, they're still going to be, one of the best teams in the American League. I don't think it's going to change that. But yeah, they're worse because of Justin Verlander. Not that signing Justin Verlander again was in the cards for them either. But so you got to give them a C because of that. Okay. They didn't improve necessarily.
Second place team, the Mariners, who we know are going to be good, hopefully. Teoscar Hernandez was traded for. That's a good move. AJ Pollock, Colton Wong, Tommy La Stella, Trevor Gott. They lost Jesse Winker and Kyle Lewis and Mitch Haniger in the outfield. Adam Frazier, Carlos Santana, along with some other guys.
I feel like they're losing a lot.
It looks
they got better. They got better in the outfield.
It looks very lateral to a slight upgrade, in my opinion.
I agree. Teoscar Hernandez is an upgrade to anybody they lost.
They lost
Pollock could be, he hasn't turned it. He's a flyer essentially. Your boy Tommy La Stella's in there, so a lot of contact. They solidified second base with the Colton Wong. So I'd say it's a B. I think they got slightly better because of the Teoscar Hernandez. I think that's the biggest move.
Do you think they improved over 90 wins? Do you think 90 wins was a little bit high for them last year? Or was that about right? Are they a 90-win team?
They were pretty. I think that was the projection. It was pretty damn close to that.
That rotation's good too.
Remember,
that rotation is good too.
Yeah, the rotation is pretty good. No, I think it's pretty lateral. I think with the improvements of that division that they're going to have a hard time.
If you're lateral, if you made the playoffs last year and you just do lateral moves, that's a C. No better than a C.
All right, so let's talk quickly about the Rangers and the Rangers next, if we can.
Yeah,
because I think that we need to talk.
So
about
the Rangers, basically, what they said they're going to do is they're going to build a rotation. So they went out and got Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi, Andrew Heaney, and Jake Odorizzi. Martin Perez was also brought back on a qualifying offer, and they lost Cole Calhoun and Matt Moore.
I mean, last winter they signed the two infielders, right? Like they signed Seager and Simeon last offseason. And then this offseason, like you said, they're building the rotation. Could they be good?
They also have the lighter kid that they drafted, right? So he's coming up. I wouldn't be surprised if he was, on a faster track to capitalize with some of the things that they have.
He's a college player.
I mean, when I'm looking at how they improved, I got to give them an A- because of deGrom. You're adding Jacob deGrom, who I understand there's health concerns there. You're adding Eovaldi. They did solidify that rotation.
I agree.
So
I mean,
there's no reason why they can't be better.
The upside on this team, I feel like the Rangers probably have the biggest swing to their highs and their lows this season.
Yeah.
Could they compete with the Astros for that division with that rotation? Yes. Could they win 81 games because it just doesn't work out? Absolutely.
For sure. No, it feels like a 5, 6, 7 years ago Angels move. So we'll see if it pays off. They just don't have Mike Trout.
Andrew, what's your grade for the Rangers?
A-.
Okay.
They're shooting their shot.
Let's wrap up with the Angels because the Angels, they got Hunter Renfroe, Gio Urshela, Brandon Drury, Tyler Anderson, Brett Phillips. They lost some marginal pieces.
They got better.
Slightly.
They did get better. I have a hard time taking them seriously because of who they are, and they seemingly never improve, even though they have some really good players, two of the best players on the planet on their team. Like, this team should be better. I don't quite understand why they can't put it together. But if you're looking, they didn't really improve the defense all that much, or the pitching.
And Tyler they got Anderson, a lot of like infielders that play positions that also each other play. It's a little strange. They have three third basemen.
Rendon, is Rendon even going to play?
He's going to play supposedly, but now they have Richella and Drury, so I don't know what. That's a shortstop and a second baseman maybe.
And Drury had a hell of a year. I mean, when that guy has actual glasses, you can see, and doesn't have tunnel vision. He's a very good baseball player. So I'm happy for him that he came back for that. They should be better, but they didn't address their pitching very much, and that was, to me, one of the biggest areas of weakness. So I think they're going to be around the same. I don't think they're going to compete.
Should they have traded Ohtani?
They're going to in the offseason. I mean, in the deadline.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like the Angels just need to be realistic about where they are and what they have in Ohtani and the haul that they could get for Ohtani. And they should have just traded him and just said, we're rebuilding. Yes, we know we have Mike Trout for however many more years. He's not going away. We're probably never going to win with Mike Trout because it's just, we're not good enough right now. And he's aging, but let's trade Ohtani and just get the prospects that we can right now. And they didn't do that. So I don't know. I'm giving him a C+.
And Scott?
Yeah. C. I don't know. Again, I think that they should have absolutely gone after pitching, and they didn't.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up. That definitely we're long-winded, not surprisingly. Maybe we'll do the National League next week because it is important to still talk about the National League because of the balanced schedule. We're going to see every single team on the schedule this year. So as we start doing our previews and everything, we're going to take that into consideration. And ordinarily, we wouldn't talk about other teams, but hey, they're on the Yankee schedule now, so it's fun to talk about them. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back at you next week.